Lead story today, November 20th, 2024. Ukraine launches new long-range attacks. Hey guys, it's Marcel, the Canadian journalist, formerly Ernie Racing News. We are at the brink of nuclear war. The nuclear doctrine from Russia is just being broken just the ever so slightly, as yesterday US missiles and missiles from France and Britain were launched from Ukraine, but with personnel from the US, from NATO to make those missiles launch possible. It's not like you could just give Ukraine missiles and they know how to use them. No, there's actual US military personnel launching these missiles at Russia, into the cities of Russia. And luckily, yesterday, Russia was able to intercept all of the missiles in the air and blow them up in the air, because they have obviously a really highly sophisticated anti-missile system. Now, Ukraine followed up its long-range weapon attack on Russia on Wednesday, this time reportedly with weapons from the UK. This follows attacks on Tuesday with US-made ATACMS missiles. On Tuesday, Ukraine attacked Russia's Bryansk region. On Wednesday, they reportedly attacked the Kursk region. Neither of those places are near the contested region where the battle has been in Ukraine. This is getting real serious, guys. This means that Ukraine is not defending itself to regain territory. They are only instigating a global war, or NATO is instigating a global war because Russia has said that it will consider an attack from Ukraine, an attack from the West, and will retaliate accordingly. This means, and they've spoken about this a year ago, they will attack if the USA attacks them through Ukraine as a conjunction with US missiles shot from wherever. It doesn't matter where they come from, as long as they're in conjunction with the USA and the G7. They will attack those countries in return. They're not going to attack Ukraine. There's nothing to attack there. They will launch missiles at the USA. Is it going to be Washington, D.C.? Is it going to be L.A.? Essentially, if you were in a blue state, I would get the hell out of a blue state right now. That's not a bad idea. I'm reporting out of Canada, kind of another blue state, you could say, in certain ways, especially with the recent BC election being like 51-50 or 49. So who wants this war? No sane person living in a NATO country wants to fight Russia. But guess what? Neither do Ukrainians. Somehow, Gallup somehow surveyed Ukrainians and found that more of them want the war to end than want to keep fighting. I thought the West, quote, stood with Ukraine, unquote. If they stand with Ukraine, they should honor their wishes for peace. So here we are on Gallup, guys. November 19th. Half Ukrainians want quick negotiated end to war. EU, UK favored over US as negotiators. This article is the first in a series based on Gallup's latest survey in Ukraine. In 2023 and 2024, some occupied territories with entrenched Russian control were excluded because of lack of coverage by Ukrainian mobile operators. The exclusion represents approximately 10 to 12% of the population. So from London, after more than 2 years of grinding conflict, Ukrainians are increasingly weary of the war with Russia. In Gallup's latest surveys of Ukraine conducted in August and October of 2024, an average of 52% of Ukrainians would like to see their country negotiate an end to the war as soon as possible, with nearly 4 in 10 Ukrainians, or 38%, believe their country should keep fighting until victory. So in this data here, it's representing Ukrainians want end of the war as soon as possible from 2022 to 2023 to 2024. And you see the green one is Ukrainians should continue fighting, was at 4% in 22. In 23, it was down to 63%. And in 24, it's down to 38%. And the percentage of Ukrainians want to seek negotiations, well, in the 2022, it was like 22%. 23, it was like 26%. And now it's 52%. So skipping ahead, Russia has made military inroads on the front line in recent months. Despite Ukraine's incursion into the Kursk region, President Zelensky, little tiny actor Zelensky's victory plan. Speaking of that, has everyone seen the video of Zelensky's dancing in high heels and leather, sexual leather, doing sexual innuendo dancing music video? Have you guys seen this? Maybe I should find it again. There he is. There's your Zelensky champ. Ukraine's warmongering mini Zelensky dancing and doing his sexual dance. This is the leader of this country that the neocons put in place. There he is. Let's move on, all right? There's one more quick snap. Holy crap. Oh my god, disgusting. All right, back to Zelensky's victory plan to end the war, which includes joining NATO and using Western long-range missiles against Russian territory. Also received mixed reactions from Western allies when presented last month, overlapping the timing of Gallup's October fieldwork. In the past few days, outgoing President Biden, senile Biden, has given Ukraine the green light to strike inside Russia using long-range U.S. missiles. Now, of course, what's the point of all this besides starting World War III, besides perpetuating the military-industrial complex, a $15 trillion industry, the biggest industry in the world annually? They also, when they were shipping all the old weapons over to Ukraine, then they have a chance, now we need to build the new weapons, new factories, on and on and on. So what does, just think about in Ukraine's perspective of the 48% of people that still want this fight in Ukraine's poll, what do they gain out of launching missiles into Russia? How does that stop anything about them having issues in Ukraine? What does it do for the war in Ukraine as they lose territory in Ukraine? Right? I guess the only comparison would be, is like how the U.S. launched atomic bombs into Japan, even though the U.S. was not in Japan, right? But there was no war on U.S. soil besides Pearl Harbor, which we all know was they're essentially the flag that allowed them to convince the people to go to war, to start that military-industrial complex, right? You got to hit the Americans didn't want to go into World War II. Us in Canada and the rest of, as we're attached to this British bullshit, we all were forced into World War II based on the Allied system. The U.S. wasn't. But then all of a sudden Pearl Harbor happens. They let it happen. They see it incoming. They don't defend on it. They make sure maximum destruction, just like 9/11, the false flag of 9/11, to then instigate the people to be angry and give up their rights and go to war. Whether it was having the Patriot Act, the Homeland Security Act for 9/11, going to war in Iraq for nothing, in Afghanistan, or entering World War II because we're pissed off that they attacked them. But what does it gain? What does it gain for Ukraine to actually be just throwing missiles into civilian areas or wherever into Russia? Nothing besides the U.S.'s neocon ultimate destruction at their last little thimble while they're still in power, right? Their last little hold on to power, create massive war. Continuing further, the prospect of now President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House may have created uncertainty about the ongoing provision of military and monetary aid. Since the war began, the United States has given more military aid than any other country to Ukraine. So on to the support for continued fight dips across the country topic. Since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022, the front line of the conflict has remained mostly in the country's east and south. In 2022, these same regions most exposed to the conflict were least likely to want to keep fighting it, although majorities supported it, 63% and 61% respectively. Over time, support for continuing the war has withered in all regions in Ukraine, no matter how close to the front line they are. Support has dipped below 50% everywhere in 2024, as we spoke earlier about. So this is interesting. For 2024, you can see in the poll about what countries, Donetsk 27%, 27, as we click through it, 40 for Kherson, and 41, and then 43 for these countries far. As you get a little closer, it kind of drops, right, to the east. Oh, not in those ones anyways. Just obviously these regions. Donetsk is 27, yep. To finish up, a fair share of Ukrainians who favor negotiating a quick end to the war believe Ukraine should be open to conceding some territory in exchange for peace. More than half of this group, 52%, agree that Ukraine should be open to making some territorial concessions as part of a peace deal to end the war, while 38% disagree and another 10% don't know. Well, guys, this is concluding this story. I thought the West stood with Ukraine. If they stand with Ukraine, they should honor their wishes for peace. This is Canadian Journalist. Make sure you share this with your friends. Share it on your CensorTube social medias. Of course, put it on Twitter. I mean, I should do that too, or X, which I don't really use, but I should start using more. This is Canadian journalist Marcel. Thanks a lot. Cheers.